According to a brand new poll from CNN, Biden's young voter problem keeps getting worse. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and today it is time to talk about the 2024 presidential election, because everyone, yesterday we went over the CNN poll, and it was pretty bad for Biden, but CNN released even more details about the poll, and it's worse than I thought. As young voters, yes, a group that has traditionally been very Democrat, continue to move away from Biden in record amounts. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Again, folks, all support is greatly appreciated, and yeah. Now, like I said, we did go over this poll in great detail yesterday, but over the course of the past 24 hours, CNN has released more details about the poll, and they released a brand new section on the young voter. And my goodness, is this bad for Biden. So let's get into it, because you're about to see numbers that I don't think we have ever seen by any Democrat. I mean, these numbers are so bad, you would think this was coming from a Republican pollster. It's not. It's coming from CNN. So let's get into it. Unrest on college campuses is driven in part by an opposition to an unpopular Democratic president's support for Israel. Adding the fact that Democrats are holding the national convention in Chicago, and it's not hard to hear echoes of 1968, when the protest movement collided with mainstream politics. The pro-Palestinian movement in the US today is a far cry from the anti-war movement of the 60s, but the angst and frustration of young Americans is clear and growing. It extends far beyond their views of the Middle East and is a major threat to President Joe Biden's campaign to keep Donald Trump from returning to the White House. This is from CNN. This isn't, a far-right news outlet. This isn't Fox News. This is from CNN. Young voters are part of Democrats' natural base of support, but Biden is actually 11 percentage points behind Trump among young voters 18 to 34 in a head-to-head matchup in a CNN poll conducted by SSRS and released over the weekend. Yeah, Trump is winning 18 to 34-year-old voters by 11. This same group back in 2020 and for decades have voted heavily Democrat. But this cycle, something's different. Now, does this mean Trump's going to win these voters outright? I still doubt it. You can argue there's a bunch of undecided voters, You may argue, well, Trump's not above 50% with these voters. There's a lot of question marks surrounding them. But even then, Biden has a clear problem with these voters. When you add in the fact that you got someone like Jill Stein on the ballot, Cornel West, hell, RFK, these voters might not come home to Biden. In fact, they may vote for someone else. All Americans, about half, 47% of registered voters in CNN's poll, said they were satisfied with the candidates they have to choose from for president this year. That figure was dragged down by the fact that just 37% of younger voters said they were satisfied. 37%. Again, you could argue that these voters, they're not going to vote for Trump. Fine. But even then, you're talking about over 60% of young voters, which, mind you, usually are very Democrat, are saying they hate both options. They don't like who they have to choose from. Compare that with the 65-plus voter, with 57% saying they are satisfied. It is clear the young vote, they're moving away from Biden. Hell, it doesn't mean they're going to all flip towards Trump. Some of them will. But even if none of them flip to Trump, if they don't vote for Biden, because that was part of Biden's coalition, you can look at the numbers. And you can argue the reason Biden won, one of the reasons, was high turnout among young voters. If they don't vote, That's going to kill any pathway to the presidency for Biden. That doesn't mean they have to vote for Trump. Them just not voting is just as bad. When other potential candidates are added in, more than 1/5 of registered voters 18 to 34 say they support RFK in his independent bid. Older voters are less likely to say they support Kennedy, which is kind of crazy to think because the theory was, well, Kennedy was going to do great with the old vote because of his last name. It appears that's not what's happening. In fact, it's the complete opposite. Granted, some of these voters, they're probably going to go home to Biden eventually. But the fact that you have 20% of this voter block, which is much more than RFK's top line, at like 14%, is a disaster. Because that means these young voters, they are seriously considering RFK. And that doesn't include Jill Stein or Cornel West. Biden is underwater in every issue asked about in the CNN poll. According to Jennifer Agista, CNN's polling director, Agista writes, and his worst issue approval rating for his handling of the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza yields 28% approval to 71% disapproval, including an 81% disapproval mark among those younger than 35 and a majority disapproval among Democrats. So young voters, 81% are saying they disapprove of the way the war's been handled. 81%. And these are not, Republicans. A chunk of them, yeah, they could be. These are Democrats. The vast majority of young people usually have been Democrats. But they hate Biden. They think he has been a disaster when it relates to the war in Israel. Ask whether they view Biden's presidency as a success or a failure. 68% of younger Americans said it's a failure, more than other age groups. And despite his high-profile efforts to address other issues of importance to young voters, including student debt relief. Why do you think he keeps going back to that? He thinks, well, if we go back to student debt relief, we try this every other month, this will surely change the course of the election. Despite all the shilling he's tried to win these people back, it's not working. The fact that almost 70% of young voters said this presidency's a failure speaks volumes to how bad the Biden administration really is. This doesn't happen. These are numbers that I don't think we even saw with Trump with young people. And Biden is a Democrat. Biden's deficit with voters in that group is driven largely by those who did not vote in 2020, with that group excluded. Voters between the ages of 18 to 34 in this poll divide 46% for Biden to 47% for Trump. Now, what does this mean? Trump is winning over Biden by 1 point among those that voted in 2020, at least with a young vote. Compare that with the top line where Trump was beating Biden with the young vote by 11. That means young voters that didn't vote in 2020, whether that was because they weren't registered, they just didn't vote, whatever, they're breaking for Trump, not just by 11 points. They're breaking for Trump by way more, according to what this is saying. Because this number here excludes those that did not vote in 2020. AKA the theory that me and others have said for months that, hey, maybe higher turnout benefits Trump. Even when it comes to younger voters, that's true. Because with less young voters, Biden does better. But with more, Trump somehow wins them by 11. And even then, Trump is winning these voters by a point. Either way, no matter how you spin this is the sign of a trend. This isn't just, Trump doing 1 point better. You're talking about a swing of what, 20, 30 points? That's significant. That isn't, a margin of error thing. That's not statistical noise. And like they say in this article, There's plenty of polls showing the same thing. Trump plus 18 with young voters in the Fox News poll. So you can't just say that this is just noise, this is not real, this is real. In fact, this same poll gives a graph to explain why this is occurring. In my opinion, this is way more important than the issue of Israel. This is the question. Overall, would you say you are satisfied or dissatisfied with your own personal financial situation? 18 to 34-year-olds, only 38% said they're satisfied. 38%. Compare that with 65 plus who said, 65% of them said, oh yeah, we're satisfied. This graph right here explains everything. Younger people are struggling. They can't make ends meet. Everything costs so much. Their jobs suck. Their wages are going down. This is why this is occurring. People are realizing that they may not like Trump, but at least with the Orange Man, they had a good job. They didn't have to worry about this record inflation. I mean, think about that. Only 38% of young people, which should be the most favorable for Democrats, said, yeah, they're financially satisfied. It also explains why the older vote, compared to every other age group, has been the best for Biden this cycle. These older voters, they think everything's going fine. That, oh, the economy is really booming and these people are just delusional and Biden's actually a great president. This has been proven in nearly every poll. There's been some outliers here and there, but generally speaking, most polls have Biden doing way better with older voters compared to other age groups. But at the same time, he fell off a cliff with young people. We gotta see what happens because we are only in April. This is the biggest thing people gotta understand. We are 6 months away from the election. A lot of stuff can change. But at this point, this has been a trend for a year. And you can argue the past 5 months, this trend has only intensified. But we gotta be cautious and understand that, Biden probably is gonna win the young vote at the end of the day. That doesn't mean that's good news for him. I mean, that's what, a 20-point swing if he wins them by like 2 points? That's still a huge problem, but even then, that's not good news for Democrats. It's a disaster. And it's a sign that, hey, maybe young people are truly swinging towards the Republican Party. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy this video, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.